Welcome class to week 11 of the semester. On this week, we're going to look at authentication credentials, which is in chapter 10 of your textbook. Now, last week we looked at access control fundamentals and how enforcing access control can help secure our systems and our data. We looked at some common terminology dealing with access control. We also looked at 4 models or techniques implemented by developers when creating software systems or hardware systems. We also looked at some basic practices for implementing access control, and we also looked at different authentication services. So those were all of the topics that we looked at in chapter 9, which kind of ties in with chapter 10, looking at authentication credentials. And this is where we authenticate a user to make sure that they are authentic or the true person that should have access to these restricted resources and not just some pretender. I would say that chapter 10 textbook is broken down into 2 main areas. The first area deals with the 3 broad categories of authentication credentials. The first category is what a user has, and that can be like in the physical sense of having like a token or a card to gain access to these restricted resources. A second broad category would be what a user knows, and that would be like a password. And then the third broad area is who a user is or what a user is, and that deals with the biometric authentication. And that is where we see like the retina scan or the eye scan, or you have the fingerprint, or you have the facial characteristics to gain access to these restricted resources. And then the second main area of chapter 10, it deals with account management. And this is how we talk about the way that user accounts are managed can help better secure the access to these restricted resources. And this is where you have different ways that passwords are managed for user accounts, and also when you can lock an account or an account is restricted after too many failed login attempts. So those are all of the topics that we're going to look at in chapter 10 dealing with authentication credentials. If you look at your module for week 11 in your to-do list, you will see where there is a video lecture there. There is also a PDF file for your lecture notes for chapter 10 that helps when you are reading or studying in chapter 10. Also, if you note on the overhead here, I do have 2 of the objectives that are covered in chapter 10 that kind of maps with the Security Plus exam. So you will find all of this in your to-do list for chapter 10 or for week 11. And as always, have a happy reading for chapter 10 and remember to stay secure.